Okay, we're going to do a right triangle. This is solving the right triangle. What this problem is asking us to do is it wants us to find the value of this angle and the length of these two sides. So we've got three different things that we've got to find out here. We know that this angle right here is a right angle because it is marked. It is labeled as a right angle. And then we have the measure of this angle here, and it is 50 degrees. So what I would do first is I'd probably go ahead and find out this angle A. I'd find out the measurement for this angle A right here. I'd focus on that first because we know that one of the angles is 90 and one of the angles is 50. So let's do 90 degrees plus 50 degrees is equal to 140 degrees. And we know that a triangle must have 180 degrees as the sum of all three of its angles. So I'm going to say 180 degrees minus 140 degrees is equal to 40 degrees. So that means our angle A right here is 40 degrees. That's what that means right there. Now, what we need to remember, because we are in a pre-calculus trig and focusing on trig this week, what we need to remember is that the sine of an angle is the length of its opposite side from that angle over the hypotenuse. I don't know how to spell hypotenuse. Sorry. There we go. Hypotenuse. And the cosine of an angle is adjacent. Now you can choose your 50-degree angle or you can choose your 40-degree angle. It doesn't matter. I think I used my 40-degree angle, so that's what we're going to focus on. So if I want to do the sine of 40 degrees, that is going to be equal to my A value over 19. Okay, so that is how I am going to find the value of the length of this side right here, because that is opposite of my angle over hypotenuse. Now, I also need to find B, and B is adjacent to the angle that I'm using. So I am going to do cosine of 40 degrees is B over 19. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and algebraically start working on this so that I only have to put a couple of things into my calculator. So I am going to multiply both sides by 19 because you do not want to round until the very end. And so I actually get that A is going to be equal to 19 times the sine of 40 degrees. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here for my cosine. I'm going to multiply both sides by 19. My 19 cancels. And so my B value is going to be 19 times the cosine of 40 degrees. Now, I definitely would encourage you to start playing with your calculator, to start using the calculator on Alex. It does not matter to me if you use the calculator on Alex for your final exam or if you use a handheld scientific or graphing calculator. But whatever calculator you decide to use, you better be sure that you know how to use it. Now, I'm using just an electronic calculator on my phone, and when I do that, I have to put 40 in first, and then I have to hit sine. So when I take the sine of 40, I get 0.642786, and then it keeps on. Then I need to multiply that times 19. Now, a graphing calculator doesn't necessarily do it that way, and the calculator on Alex doesn't do it that way. So what you need to know is you need to be using your calculator, and you need to get used to that calculator, and you need to make sure that the computation that you're putting into the calculator is you are doing it in the correct order, because the calculators that are on our phones, depending on how we're using them, they don't follow the order of operations because they're not scientific. So you have got to be sure that what you are telling your calculator to do is what you want it to do, because your calculator is going to do what you tell it to do. My advice is that you use the calculator on Alex and you just get comfortable with it and you know that you are putting it in the right order. So I do want you to be very careful with that. So when I do 19 times the sine of 40x, what I get is 12.2129. Now our problem says to round to the nearest tenth. So this 2 is in the tenths place. So I'm going to look at the 1, and the 1 tells me to leave the 2 the same. So my answer to this is 12.2. So the length of A is 12.2. Now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to find the cosine of 40, and then I am going to multiply that times 19. And when I do that, I get 14. So in my calculator right now, I have 14.5548. Now for this one, I am going to round to this 10th place right here. But do you see how in my hundredths place I have something higher than a 5? I have a 5. That 5 tells the 5 to go up. So when I round that, I actually get 14.6 right there. Okay? Again, knowing how to use your calculator is super, super important. So don't hesitate to ask questions about that. And don't hesitate to use that ALEC calculator so that you make sure you're doing it right. Okay, let me know if you have any other questions.